Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Raving Patients Podcast. As you know, I'm your host, Dr. Len Tao. And one of the things that I developed in my office many years ago, actually it's now 2010, so it's 11 years ago, I developed my own in-house dental plan. I had a vision that, and very few people had it then, I had a vision that it was a really great way to keep those patients without dental insurance from leaving the practice. And then there's been a huge shift in the industry, and there's so many companies that offer something similar to this. But as you know, as someone who is very out there and connected in the industry, I meet a lot of different companies who would like to be on my podcast and basically introduce their products to the dentists out there. So this is one of those episodes where I'm going to be talking with someone who has developed some software to help you set these types of plans up and manage them. So today's episode is called The Opposite of Dental Insurance, and it's with a company called PlanRise. So please welcome to the Raving Patients Podcast, Leslie D'Agostino. Leslie, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we were introduced by Darius at Paradental, and he wanted us to chat because he thought I can help you get the word out. So first off, why don't you explain to the listeners and viewers, because it's being recorded and video done, a little bit about you, how you got involved, your history. You are a registered dental hygienist, and now you're not clinically working anymore, and you're focused on this. But talk about you. Talk about how you got involved in this type of product.
Yeah. So I'll start by saying sorry to everyone because I'm not clinically working anymore. And I know staffing is a huge problem. I have people reach out to me all the time to come work. But I've been licensed for almost 8 years now. And I actually jumped from clinical into tech probably come year 3. Stayed in dental, though. I'm really interested in the dental tech version of everything. And I really like how it applies to the business side of dental. For a little bit there, I got out of dental altogether. I actually worked for a staffing company in Dallas-Fort Worth. I managed the territory. And there I learned a ton about how many people are uninsured and how many people are actually like contract gig workers at huge corporations. So for example, Sally Beauty Supply, they may have a third of people on staff that are actually contract workers making great money, no dental insurance. So that was kind of interesting to me. And I got pulled back into dental, pulled back into tech, which was awesome. And that's why I kind of have this driving passion for PlanRise is I have the dental background and I really want to help people have access to care who don't necessarily have dental insurance or who don't want to use their dental insurance. That's not really great anyways.
So you were a dental hygienist for how long?
I've been licensed for about 8 and I practiced for about 3.5.
3.5 years clinically,
yes, sir.
8 and plus years licensed. And you work at a Flower Mound. You were working in Flower Mound, correct? I knew the doctor you were working with.
Yeah, you did.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a very small world how you're connected. So why don't we start off? Obviously, as I mentioned, there are a lot of companies that handle doing membership plans for dental offices. Why don't you kind of talk about? I don't want it to be a sales pitch, but why don't you talk about a little bit about how PlanRise is different, and give the listeners and viewers an idea so they understand a little bit more about what you guys do.
Yes. So I don't want it to be a sales pitch either. Honestly, what I want to get out there is the idea of automating an in-house plan, because that's where we see a big gap, right? Is we'll talk with offices and about 75% of them will tell me, yes, I do offer an in-house plan for people that don't have dental insurance. But the main thing that they're lacking is going to be automation and efficiency with their program because they're not really able to track it. So that's one thing I really want to get out there is why you should automate your program, other aspects that will bring to your business. And PlanRise is just one of the platforms that you can use to do that. So we have 2 versions of the platform. We do have a free version and then we have a paid version. And it's just like any other, system that has that freemium to premium model where there's going to be different features of the software that you can access with the upgraded version.
Gotcha. So So obviously you gave a little bit of an introduction there. Why don't you go into a little bit more depth? I mean, I want to talk to you about some of the things you want to talk about, but specifically, I want to make sure the listeners really get a feel for why should they look at your product versus some of the other ones on the market.
So when I talk about automation, the main thing that I want people to understand is that businesses that have automated subscription-based revenue, they're valued completely differently. So I may talk with an office who already has an in-house program set up. Maybe they've got, 20 to 50 patients already enrolled, and they're manually administering the program. So they're having to maybe create flags in their practice management software. They've got to rely on that patient to come in and pay them. They could come in 2 months late for their cleaning, pay late. So you have that gap in collecting revenue. Whereas if you enroll them on a platform that automates everything for them, not only are you reducing the option to have maybe like mistakes in your office, manual mistakes, but you're relying on the fact that everything is going to automatically process. Payment will come into the practice bank account that's attached to your dashboard. But the main thing with being efficient and automating is how that revenue is then evaluated when it comes time to look at, okay, how much will my business sell for? And everyone's going to eventually sell a practice, bring on investors, whatnot. So automated subscription-based revenue is valued at a 2 to 3x multiplier on revenue, whereas transactional-based revenue is looked at with a 1x multiplier on revenue. So that's kind of the main thing that we're trying to get out there, right? Is any company that has automated subscription-based revenue, you're just going to be valued completely different than if you're collecting credit cards in your office and relying on that patient to come in and pay.
That's really interesting. I never realized that. So as I told you, I have the plan that I started called the Oral Health Savings Plan. The reason I started it actually was I was the very first dentist in Philadelphia to do a Groupon deal. Literally, I got 500 patients overnight. It was crazy back then. It was in 2010. Yeah, it was very different back then. And we had all these patients, and 98% of those patients had no insurance at all. And I said, I need a way to keep them in the practice. So I created this savings plan for people, and it's been a hit ever since. We've just always managed it manually. We just never did anything differently. There was nothing out there to manage it for you. But we do everything manually, including the payments. And some of the things you talked about here are very true. So if they cancel appointments, if they are off on their cycle, the collection of the next payment is sometimes delayed. It doesn't automatically happen. So that's a huge advantage to using a product that just bills the patient. And I'm assuming that you also offer the opportunity, because it's a customizable approach, to do monthly payments versus annual payments, correct?
Correct. You can do monthly and annual. The nice thing about monthly, and some people are kind of nervous about it because they worry, okay, is that payment going to process? Is someone going to cancel on me halfway through? And sure, you may be collecting some risk when you offer a monthly program. However, the benefit being is that you may have more case acceptance onto the program. If you price your plans right, which you'd really have to kind of look at your patient demographic and your UCR fees, but if you price them right and you price them at a point where maybe it's kind of an out of sight, out of mind, the odds of them canceling their subscription is going to be low, right? So then you still have that automated subscription-based revenue that's just coming in every single month that you can count on for that particular patient. And the nice thing is I'll ask people, okay, if someone is paying an insurance company a premium, but that patient does not go to your practice and receive care, who keeps that money? The insurance company.
Correct.
However,
in this case, you keep it.
Exactly. Flip the script, have them paying you a monthly premium, a yearly premium. They don't show up, you keep the money. Right. And it's all cash pay direct to your practice.
Correct. That's a really big advantage too, is that you're collecting. If they don't show, they don't show. You're still paying you a monthly service. That's now, how do most, I know I'm probably jumping ahead a little bit, but how do most practices deal with people canceling the plan? Do they require cancellation a certain number of days before the end of the term? Do they allow people to cancel in the middle of the term? What are you seeing from the clients that you're dealing with?
So we leave all of the policies and protocols up to the office to establish. However, what I typically see is if somebody wants to cancel, say halfway through, dependent on what that office decides to do is dependent on that particular patient. So if they're saying, okay, well, this patient has paid for the full yearly plan, they're moving out of state halfway through, do we want to do a prorate refund, or is it just kind of too bad, so sad? Typically, I see them do a refund because they're more interested in positive reviews, which you know all about. You don't want to piss someone off and then leave a nasty review for you. So they'll just, they eat the cost in that regard. But what's nice is, yes, they paid for half of their membership. Maybe they came in and received treatment from you. Maybe the way you set up your membership said, okay, because you're a member, we'll give 10% off of treatment. So you could have very well just done treatment on this patient, only given a 10% off, and then got all of that revenue directly to your practice too. In that regard, it'd be worth it to me. But you decide as an office based on your patient base and maybe what you come across more frequently, how you'd want to handle those scenarios.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about, people are listening to this. They've always thought about that. Look, this topic has been, spoken about so many times over the years, especially recently. Talk about implementation of a plan. Why, and I know the answer to this because I have one, but why do you think practices should have a membership plan, number one? And then what are the disadvantages of having a plan? Because, I know there's people out there, well, I'm insurance-based. How do you handle it when it comes to dealing with the insurance companies? I don't want to give a patient a discount. So I'm curious. I want to cover these things because I think people are going to think about this when they listen to the episode as well. I want to start one, but I don't know how to do it. And what are the advantages and disadvantages of doing that?
Right. Okay. So first and foremost advantage, my clinical background is going to speak here, right? You're increasing access to care. So only about 40% of patients right now go to the dentist because there's like 800 billion barriers to care. And that's a fact. Okay. You can Google that, 800 billion barriers to care. So that being said, find a way to reduce at least one of those barriers, which is going to be, do I or do I not have insurance? Promote that through your website, your social media, whatever the case may be. That way they understand, okay, it actually is affordable. I can very well sign up for a membership, get, X% off of treatment, and then they feel a lot more connected to your office. So then you're helping prevent patient churn, because patient churn is a really big issue. Especially now, insurance benefits are transferable. You make me mad at this office, I'm going to go across the street and go to this other office. They take my insurance too, right? So when you have a dental membership plan, those benefits are only accessible at your practice. So it's building patient loyalty. So you're reducing that average 15 to 20% patient churn that unfortunately every single practice is seeing on average. Disadvantages of offering a plan, it's hard to say. Because some offices think, okay, well, I'm now just stepping into a discount plan, which is not the case, right? Because it's a software where you have complete autonomy, so you design it however you want. So some people then realize, okay, well, that's fantastic, but now there's so many choices. What do I do? This now seems hard to wrap my head around. So for that small group of people that don't already have a plan, I would recommend kind of working backwards. So figure out what your patient base is like, what type of patients you're wanting to attract and keep. Look at your UCR fees, figure out what procedures you want included in your membership plans, and then decide, okay, what discount do I want to tack on here, knowing that I'm providing a discount upfront initially, yes. However, the main benefit is the fact that I've now created subscription-based revenue that's valued at a 2 to 3x multiplier. So it does take some math. I wouldn't recommend someone willy-nilly just throwing plans out there. But I do recommend kind of working backwards and figuring out what's going to work best for your own office.
Gotcha. That I think is a really important thing. So, one of the reasons why I did it was I wanted more patient loyalty. I wanted the patients to stay in my practice for, at least a year, and many have stayed. Literally, they've been in there 11 years since we built it. They're still in the office. So they've been maintaining patients for a long time. I think the other reason why it's good to offer it is because if you don't have one, they're going to go to someone else who has it. That's the way it is nowadays. Is you have to follow the leaders, and I guarantee three out of every 4, 3 out of every 5 dentists is probably thinking about having one of these. And again, if you don't have it, they're going to go to someone who does. So I think you have to join the masses and finally implement something like this. Mm-hmm. So the other thing I think it really helps with, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that it really increases the barrier to or decreases the barrier to case acceptance, because the patients are getting a discount on the work they need, and you can say, well, hey, regular price is this. If you take our plan and you still do the work, you're saving this much money, and that is on top of the savings they're getting from just being in the plan, which there's already some benefits of that anyway normally.
Absolutely. I mean, you remember if you're diagnosing something and the first thing they think, they're very insurance driven, is, does my insurance cover this? And if they do, how much? And am I willing to pay the difference? Right. And that will kind of prevent people from moving forward until they have all those questions answered. And even once they get those questions answered, they may decide, no, I shouldn't be having to pay anything. And it's sad because us as clinical providers, like, it's our job to actually tell them what's wrong. It's not our job to tell them if their insurance covers it or not, right? And then they have to make that choice. But if you have a very simplistic, transparent plan, which is, this is how much it costs, this is how much you have off, this is how much it will end up being, then you can talk about if you need financing at that point, but you're not relying on a third-party payer that's a very profitable business to decide if someone should accept treatment or not.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. So I want to switch back directly to PlanRise now. So somebody is interested in signing up. Explain to the listeners and viewers exactly what you do for them in getting the plan set up and setting up an automated system.
Gotcha. Okay. So if someone's interested in setting up a plan, whether they already have an in-house program already or if they're kind of new to the concept, first and foremost, I'd say hop on our freemium platform. You can basically just go to planrise.com, make a free account, and it's going to open a dashboard that's full of just sample data, sample metrics. That way you can play around and look and see. If you already have a plan, what we would do next is configure your plans just as you offer them to your patients. So there'd be no change to your patient, and we'll configure them just as they are in the dashboard. If you don't already have plans, then we can work off of the templates that we provide, but everything's customizable, right? Name, procedures, price, all that jazz. And if you need help with that, we obviously will hold your hand and walk you through it and help you look at your UCR fees and figure out, okay, what type of discounts you want to apply. But we're not going to tell you what to do. Obviously, it's completely up to you, but we'll help kind of manage the configuration of those plans and then talk about how to train your team and get your whole team on the same page about how to present these plans to not just your cash pay patients, but even those who are, insured, because insurance, we all know it's capped at $1,500, $2,000. They might not get ortho, cosmetic, implant coverage, whatever the case may be. And you can kind of configure those types of procedures into your plan to get more case acceptance for even those who might have insurance, who decide, you know what, I want to do clear aligners next year. My insurance doesn't cover ortho for me as an adult, but I see your in-house membership plan does. It'll get me 10% off. I'm just going to sign up for your membership plan instead. So we'll kind of dive into what makes your practice different, figure out areas that you're wanting to grow in. And if we can incorporate that into your plan to increase case acceptance, I'd recommend doing that.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense as well. As some of the questions I was going to ask you, you kind of sort of answered. One was, how do you recommend somebody, and let's use my office for an example. So we've had a system already set up for 11 years. As you know, and I hope a lot of listeners know, I sold my practice October 1st. So I'm no longer the owner. The new owner is obviously taken over. I'm still working as the associate now, but she's going to want to implement different systems. So let's say she wants to go ahead and now automate the process. For something that's been in place for 10 or 11 years, how do you go about doing that?
Well, first of all, congrats on selling your practice. That's cool. For her, what we would do, configure the plan just as it is if she wants to keep that particular plan, or plans if you have multiple. And then we can do a batch upload of all of your current members. So we would just need to export your member list, the plan that they're on. And if you know the date that they started, when we import that, we can basically configure, okay, how much revenue have you gained up until this point for tracking? And then moving forward, we would just need to collect that patient's credit card so that then they're set up for automatic payment and automatic renewal. But that whole upload process usually takes about 3 days.
So it's similar to like when you drop an insurance plan or add an insurance plan, you're basically just going to let the patients know that you're changing the way you're operating the plan. And now you're coming up, now you're going to be doing an automated system rather than just a manual system. And the system's going to automatically bill the credit card. That's really all the only changes that are really taking place.
Correct. Yes.
Gotcha. And, obviously it's very demographically important for this. Where have you seen, because again, let's talk about people who are setting up a plan. They don't know where to price it. Yes, the discounts are probably anywhere from 10 to 20% you're seeing across the board. But what are you seeing price points for most of the plans that you're seeing implemented? Again, it's very locally demographic dependent, but from a national perspective, where are you seeing prices for an annual plan that covers 2 exams, 2 cleanings, all the x-rays, not including perio, let's say, just a regular plan?
Regular plan, pro fee, $35 a month, $350 for the year, national average.
National average. Okay, that's good. We are priced below that, and we've been doing it because we never changed the price from 10 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, we had never increased the price.
So where are you at?
We're at $295 for the year.
Okay.
2 exams, 2 cleanings, and all the x-rays. We do charge for a limited exam if they come in $50. And then they're getting anywhere from 10 to 20% off. Most of the procedures are 20% off. 15% is like cosmetics. 10% is implants. That's kind of how it breaks down. Night guards are a little less, 15%. But most of the basic restorative or periodontal work are all 20% off. So
it's the new practice owner. Are y'all wanting to do like ortho or clear aligners moving forward?
So clear aligners, we have a price that we discount down to. So the discount is actually bigger than they would get with the plan. So we don't ever sell the plan for someone who's on ortho because they're already getting a discount that we apply. So
Gotcha.
I've discussed with the new owner about increasing the pricing because I think it would be a great time to do that. And she doesn't want to do it, believe it or not. She thinks patients are comfortable with that pricing and doesn't want to make that change.
Yeah, I get it. If at any point she did, we have the option for version control. Like you can keep your current members at that price and anyone moving forward after that could have a different one.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even think about it that way. So you do have that option as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's shift gears slightly. Let's talk about something that I think is really important is the team and getting a team behind this, because this is something that's different. It's not your typical thing that offices do. It may become more typical as time goes on. But what do you recommend to get team buy-in?
So we start by doing training, and just kind of where we're at with the company, we're willing to do unlimited training, whatever it takes, because if the office is successful, we are as well. If the office is not, we are not. So it goes hand in hand, right? We'll do training for everybody multiple times. If you've got a new team member that comes on in 6 months, let's redo that training because we need to have everybody kind of on the same page. But the way that, people at the front may think about the benefits of this may be completely different as to what the business owner is thinking about. Business owner may be thinking about, access to care and the valuation of the business in terms of revenue. Whereas people working at the front desk, they're really happy that they're not having to deal with a third-party payer, having to deal with insurance verification, collections, out-of-patient portions, all of that really extensive manual work. And then on top of that, what we like to do is do internal team contests. So we found that it motivates them basically, to do a contest of anyone first to add 5 members to the platform in the first 30 days, we'll send a $100 Amazon gift card. Something like that to kind of make it creative, and we can change it up on a per office basis depending on the office. But something that incentivizes them to actually get people into the platform, because we found that once they do that and they see that all the payments have become automated and the renewals automated, it is so easy and hands-off compared to dental insurance. That's why we call it the opposite of dental insurance, that after that point, they're like, okay, let's add everybody onto this platform. We'll talk about it to people who are uninsured, people who are insured. And it just really starts to change the game at the front desk.
Gotcha. That does make a lot of sense. Excuse me, as you're talking again, I thought of something else. I'm assuming that you are you messaging the office when a payment processes, or are they just logging in to check the payments are being made? How does that all operate from a reporting perspective?
We have the option. So if they want an email notification every time a payment processes, we send it. If they realize, you know what, we've got 50 people on here, some people on monthly, yearly, this is too much, you can turn it off.
Gotcha. Okay. But they're able to go manually and check it anyway if they want to see what payments are processing.
Yes. So we have a dashboard they can log into. They see all the revenue metrics, all their patients, payments, make sure they're active. And if a payment does not process.
That's what I was just going to ask you.
Yes. Patients notified, office is notified, and in the dashboard, it will reflect.
Okay.
So the office will get an immediate email that will tell them so that they can act on it. So they can call the patient, tell them, hey, this payment didn't process. We need to get a new credit card on file. Or they can tell the patient to log into their patient profile. They have a portal they can log into. And inside of that portal, they see their plan information, office information, and they can update their credit card there as well.
Gotcha. So I want to look at the whole dental industry as a whole here. What percentage of offices do you think have some sort of plan set up already?
75%, but that does not mean it's being automated. That's about 75% of offices that say we have some form of an in-house program that we offer to people that don't have insurance.
Wow, 75%. I would have thought it was much, much lower. Much lower.
Nope, not anymore.
Interesting. Okay. Wow, I did not think it was that high. So that's good. I mean, that's a nice number of offices are doing it now. What percentage of those 75? What of those 75%? What percentage do you think automate the process?
Probably a third.
So 2/3 are manual and a third are automated. And by automation, we're talking about some of the companies that you're competitors with and those things. That's what we mean by automation. You have a company managing it.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about, I mean, obviously, I think the plans are more geared for a different generation or a younger generation. A lot of my patients that were on it were younger people who had no insurance because they're just coming out of school, they're in school, and their plan is really bad. And I always tell people that buying one of these plans is less expensive than going out and buying your own dental insurance. Buying your own dental insurance is actually not the best option for people, and I try to explain that to them. So we're looking at a somewhat younger generation. Are you finding that as well?
Yes and no. So 14% of the population right now is younger than 26 years old. So that's a huge chunk. However, we have all of our baby boomers who are reaching retirement. And on top of that, all of the people that are now considered contract workers, gig workers who aren't employed with an actual corporation, that's reached almost a third of the population. Wow. So people have that, perceived notion that this is only for the younger generation. I don't think that's correct. I do think there's a huge young generation that likes this option. I also think there's a whole other portion of the population that needs this option because that's all they have. And so for an office to say, oh, well, you don't have dental insurance, this is what you should go purchase this plan with such and such company, to me is crazy. Because you're telling them to go pay another company so that you can work your butt off to collect from that company. I think that's nuts. Have your own in-house program, collect that money directly from them for preventive care and for treatment. And I think it applies to a huge group of the population.
Yeah, that does. Okay. So we get the team to buy in, we get the offices using it well. Where are next step for offices? Like, where do they go from there? How do they market it? Do you recommend they use it for all patients? Do you recommend they only give it to those who don't have any insurance? Do you recommend they offer it to existing patients rather than just new patients? So what do you, I mean, I'm sure you train the team and talk to them about these things. So where are your suggestions there?
So very first step would be to utilize the dashboard to send out an invite template. So inside the dashboard, there's a way to do a batch upload of patients. All we need is their first, last name, and email. And we can target them specifically. And the template email basically has all your office information, thanks them for being a patient of your practice, and lets them know that you now offer in-house plans. And it will direct them to your online sign-up page. So we provide every office an online sign-up page. It basically is branded with all of the office information. So we're meant to stay in the background, and it will show the plans that they've configured, and patients can sign up online. But when you're targeting these people, I mean, you could target your whole patient base if you want, just to get the word out there. You could do a batch upload of your cash pay patients. You could do a batch upload of particular patients, maybe who are part of a dental insurance plan that you're wanting to drop. You could do a batch upload of patients who have been inactive, for the last maybe 2 years, to try to pull them back into the practice, because we don't know why they stopped coming. So that's where I start. Then after that, I always say, take this website widget code and have it installed on your homepage, so that when people are just surfing the web for a dentist, because that's what people do now, and they're looking for reviews, then they'll see that you have an in-house option plan, and they can click on that and view them as well. I try to make it very apparent, we're not a marketing company by any means. So I don't like to come to offices and say, hey, this is going to get you all these new patients. We're driving traffic to your website, because we're not. So just to manage expectations, but we're providing necessary, marketing tools that they can then utilize to get the word out there that they do offer it. Because there's a lot of offices that I'll talk to that they say, yeah, we offer this, but I don't see it anywhere on their website. So I always recommend at least have some type of verbiage on your website that talks about, these are the insurances we have, these are the financing options we have, and we have an in-house program.
Gotcha. That is really good. Now, I know you just mentioned a part of it, and you kind of hit on this as well. From a marketing perspective, do you think they should, are you looking at dentists going on social media and saying, no insurance, we have a membership plan? How are you seeing offices kind of market this to maybe attract new patients rather than focus on just the existing patients they have?
I kind of see it on all of the social media platforms. I've seen it on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm not on Twitter, so I don't know. But yeah, I've seen it everywhere, literally everywhere. And if you're thinking about a younger demographic that is a big portion of the population, right? 14% under the age of 26, they're going to see that on social media too. And then I recommend, if you're still sending out mailers and flyers, I don't know that I necessarily recommend it, but I know people still do. You can have that as well. And then just embed on there a scannable QR code, because we'll give every office their own QR code as well. So they can use that to then direct people to their online sign-up page. And always have in-office branding too. I've seen people put up in their office, not necessarily that they're like flyers, but some type of brochure or pop-ups or something that the patients can see when they're inside of the practice.
Gotcha. That definitely makes sense. So let's get to some more specific information about the product itself. So you mentioned there's a free version, and then there's a paid version as well. I think you differentiate the plans. One's free and one's called Efficient, I think is right. Isn't that what's on the website?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I remember seeing that on the website. So talk about costs, talk about pricing. I mean, talk about, contracts, talk about the things that dentists really want to know about. Like, hey, I'm really keen on looking at this. What do I need to know about the bottom line stuff?
Okay. So the free version, think of it like Pandora or Spotify. You sign up for free, but you're having to listen to ads, right? You can't pick exactly what song you want to listen to. Like, it's kind of limited, but you're still getting some good quality out of it. Same thing for us. We don't have ads per se, but you basically have a free dashboard that you can access. You can still continually manually collect payment in your office, log it in the dashboard. That way you at least can see all of your metrics. So when I call offices that are doing this on their own and I ask, how many members do you have? How much revenue did it pull in for you last quarter? What are you projected to make? Like, they can't answer that stuff. So with the dashboard, at least then you can track all of your metrics related to your in-house program. If you want to pay to upgrade, that's where the automation comes into play and the additional marketing features. So an upgraded version of the software will allow you to have all of the patients' billing automated. They're going to automatically renew. You'll have the online sign-up page. You'll have patient portals. You can do the template invites. All of the meaty stuff that you want to become more efficient and to kind of get rid of that potential manual error that's involved whenever you're trying to do it on your own.
Okay. And the only way that you're making money is on the actual monthly fee, or you're charging a fee to process the credit cards? How does that work?
We make money on the monthly fee, which is $199 a month, capped. Does not matter how many members you have. You could have 100, 500, whatever members. It will always be $199 a month. There's an automatic payment processing fee, which is 2.99%, which goes to Stripe. So Stripe is the automatic payment processor that is then attached to the dashboard.
And you're just paying. I mean, that's for people who don't know. That's if you run a swipe to credit card, you're paying a fee to the credit card company as well. That's the fee to use Stripe, is what it is. So
that's the fee, and it automatically deducts. So you'll see like the payment column, the net column. Obviously, you balance off your net. And some people will say, "Oh, well, if I process these payments in my office, it's a much lower fee than 2.9." And sure, it is. It averages about 2.4%. But if you do 2.9%, now you have that patient automated and it's running every so often as it should. And that's where the revenue is valued 2 to 3x instead of 1x.
And just so you know, guys, as she was talking, I did a quick calculation on the phone. If your plan's $300 and they're taking out 2.99%, you're paying the processing $8.70. So you're talking about such a small little number here that should not even be that's inconsequential, and you shouldn't even worry about that number there. So, I mean, you're talking about pennies, just to be very clear. So, and I'm correct, right, Leslie? I think that's how the numbers work out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So to us, it's $199 a month.
Yep. Okay. Anything else? I want to do this or that. We talked about this time, but anything else that you feel is important to let the listeners know before we do this or that, and then we wrap it up, and you can make your offer to the people listening.
Oh, some people do ask on the free version of the dashboard, how long can I stay in the free version? The answer is indefinitely. You can use it indefinitely if you want. But what we find obviously is once they have a certain amount of members enrolled, then they realize, oh my gosh, I don't have access to these features. It'd be easier. And then they pay to upgrade. But yes, you can use the free version indefinitely if you're just looking for better ways to track your current in-house plan. And
not that I've spoken to a lot of the companies out there. I didn't mention any of the names, of course, but there's other companies out there. How does the price compare to those companies? I know that one of them, the more people you get, the more money it costs you. I do know that. So how does the pricing of $199 compare to the other options out there?
So a lot of the other companies will do a per member per month charge. They average, to my knowledge, about $5 a member. So, I mean, you got to think if you got 100 people on the platform, $5 a member, you could be paying $500 a month. So I always recommend if you're looking to automate your system, find a company that caps the monthly fee, because these are software companies, right? Where it's not like an ongoing service and marketing that's pulling all these patients to your practice. It's a software company, and it costs the company no extra money to house more members inside of it. But you as a practice are having to continually pay more the more people that you add. So a capped program is always going to be probably the better choice when you're looking at it from your cost as an office.
Makes a lot of sense. All right, so let's go ahead and switch gears here a little bit. Let's spend a couple minutes. So guys, as many of you know, I have a app on my phone or deck of cards. These are called pod decks. Today we're going to switch it up. We usually do Would You Rather. Leslie selected a deck called This or That. So we're going to go through a number of questions here and have a little fun. So there's two choices. She's going to select one and tell us why. So we'll learn a little bit more about Leslie here.
Why? Okay.
What's that?
I got to tell you why.
Well, it just has to be a short reason. So are you a people person or an animal lover?
People person.
Okay. Do you not
animals? Animals shed. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Don't like them.
Hey, do you like Tooth Fairy or Boogeyman?
Do I like what?
The Tooth Fairy, or do you believe in the Tooth Fairy or Boogeyman?
I believe the Tooth Fairy.
Tooth Fairy, obviously. That's a random question about dentistry.
She brings
Tylenol or Advil?
Advil, 100%.
I recommend Advil all the time. Tylenol doesn't do it.
Anti-inflammatory.
So soda bottle or soda can?
Soda can. It holds the carbonation better.
I like a bottle because it's colder a lot of times. The glass, like the bottle is if you're using glass bottles especially. Right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
Katy Perry or Taylor Swift?
Ooh. Katy Perry.
Okay.
She's a little bit more out there.
Okay. Take control or go with the flow.
No, take control. Yeah.
How do you end your letter? Sincerely or yours truly?
Neither. I say best, comma.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. So let's see. Phone call or text?
Phone call for business, text for personal.
Okay. You already, I would have asked you this one, but I know you don't. Tweet or no tweet? It's no tweet because you don't have Twitter.
No tweet.
Yeah, since you mentioned that you don't have Twitter.
No.
Bartender or barista?
Oh, barista. Yeah.
Coffee drinker.
Well, caffeine.
Caffeine.
Just any kind of caffeine.
Let's see. Sudoku or crossword puzzle?
Crossword puzzle.
Okay. Let's see. One more. Fiction or nonfiction?
Nonfiction.
Nonfiction.
I'd much rather watch documentary. Yeah. Anything that can't happen in real life, I can't get into it for some reason. It's got to be able to happen in real life.
Well, there you go. There's Leslie's answers. So thank you, Leslie, for having some fun there. So talk about the special that you wanted to offer to the listeners or viewers of the Raving Patients Podcast.
Yes. So we have the ability to input a promo code whenever you sign up for the paid version, the efficient version. So the promo code is FIRST20. So it's all capital FIRST 20. And that'll get you 20% off of the efficient paid plan indefinitely. So instead of it being $199 a month, it'd be $149 a month.
Okay, so they're saving money.
Yeah, saving money indefinitely, and there's no contract. It's month to month.
Month to month. So if they use you for 5 months, now obviously if they stop, obviously everything goes back to they have to process the payments themselves then.
Correct. Yes.
Gotcha. So anything else you think is important before I wrap it up?
I think we covered everything. But my main reason for wanting to come on here with you is for the 75% of people that are already doing this, but you're doing it manually, find a way to be efficient so that your value of the revenue is looked at differently. And for the people that don't do it, at least maybe look into it and try to play around with plans and see what might work for your office. So
just so you know, as we're sitting here, I sent a text message to the new owner of the practice saying, I think you need to speak with Leslie. So when we're done, I'm going to give you her contact information so you can reach out to her. So, just so you know. Just so you know. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the content that Leslie shared. If you are one of the 25% that does not have a plan, you need to consider one. Okay. If you're part of the 75%, I think you said a third don't automate, a third don't automate, 2/3 do. No, the other way around. 2/3 don't, 1/3 does. If you're in that 2/3, you may want to automate as well. So definitely reach out to Leslie to find out more information about what you can do. Leslie, real quick, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
My email is really simple. It's just my name, LESLIE @plannerize.com.
Okay.
Or they can reach out to my cell phone as well. Which, do you want me to say it on here? Do you want to post it?
No, sure.
Okay. Cell phone is 972-400-7766.
Perfect. Awesome. So if you want information from Leslie, please reach out to her. Let her know that you heard about this on the Raving Patients podcast to qualify for the discount she is offering, which is very nice of her. And if you like the episode, please review us. Please share it. Please tell your colleagues about it. I don't really market this podcast. It's just kind of grassroots growing. And, as always, remember your reputation matters. Until the next episode, Leslie, thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll speak with you guys soon.